Inside the most feared prisons on Earth, a journey through the deadly triangle. Hit that subscribe button before we dive in, because once you step into the story, there's no turning back. Every click helps the channel survive the shadows we're about to enter. The night began with alarms, not the kind that blared through city streets, but the silent, pulsing alerts sent straight to the Federal Cyber Monitoring Unit in Brasilia. A red flag flashed across the screen. Unauthorized disappearance from a sealed corporate office in Sao Paulo's financial district. No forced entry. No camera footage. No exit logs. An executive had vanished from a room, designed to be escape-proof. Detective Laura Mendez arrived first, pushing past security guards who looked more shaken than helpful. The office door was still locked from the inside when they found it. Windows sealed, glass reinforced, digital locks untouched. Cameras conveniently offline during a 5-minute window. The missing man, Rodrigo Vale, had been investigating internal financial irregularities for months, according to the nervous HR director, who couldn't stop tugging at his tie. Laura stepped into the room and felt the suffocating stillness immediately. The fluorescent lights hummed faintly. Papers were left neatly stacked. A half-empty cup of coffee cooled on the desk. No overturned chair. No sign of a struggle. Nothing but a faint chemical smell that didn't match anything in the room. Her instincts prickled. Something was wrong, not because of what she saw, but because of what she didn't. On the desk lay Vale's laptop, still unlocked. A spreadsheet of international wire transfers glowed on the screen, numbers that stretched across continents. Brazil, Australia, even a flagged transfer to a restricted account connected to New South Wales. The last email Vale had sent read only. I found the link. It's worse than we thought. By sunrise, the investigation had grown stranger. Vale was last seen 2 days earlier visiting a former inmate of Carandiru, the infamous prison demolished years ago. The meeting raised more questions than answers. What business did a corporate executive have with someone who once survived one of Brazil's most chaotic penitentiaries? Detective Laura learned that Vale had been tracing financial trails that connected not just Brazil, but to offshore entities tied to prison contracts in multiple countries. The deeper she dug, the more the puzzle widened. Another red flag popped up, documents hinting at shadow partnerships involving Casuarina Prison in Australia, and another at Goulburn Supermax, one of the most secure isolation facilities on Earth. Lara's partner, Inspector Duarte, paced the hallway outside the office. "This isn't a disappearance," he muttered. "This is extraction. Someone wanted him gone without a trace." Inside the office, Laura made a final sweep. She tapped a section of wall that looked too clean, too polished. A hollow sound echoed back. She pressed harder. The edge of a false panel shifted. A hidden maintenance shaft, barely wide enough for one person, and dusty, except for a single clean streak running downward, as if someone had recently slid through. Lara's pulse kicked. She crouched, shining her flashlight into the narrow darkness. The shaft descended deeper than the building's official blueprint suggested. Far deeper. The walls bore faint scrape marks, as if someone had been pulled or guided rather than willingly climbed. A torn piece of fabric clung to a metal bolt halfway down. Rodrigo's suit fabric. But what chilled her was a symbol etched into the metal plate beside the shaft. A small triangle, carved with precision. 3 points, 3 angles, 3 continents. She stepped back just as Duarte entered. "Find something." She swallowed hard. Rodrigo wasn't kidnapped by chance. Whoever took him, they're connected to Carandiru, Casuarina, and Goulburn. This is bigger than anything we thought. Duarte stared at the triangle symbol. "What does it mean?" Laura exhaled. "It means we're dealing with something organized, something global." Then her radio crackled. "Detective Mendez, you need to see this. We just recovered a message from Vale's encrypted folder." "What message?" A beat of static. Then the officer's trembling voice. He wrote, "If anything happens to me, don't trust anyone inside the system. The triangle has already chosen its next target." Laura froze. "Detective, there's a name attached. And it's yours." Detective Laura Mendez didn't speak for several seconds. Her name, attached to Vale's final warning. Hung in the air like a threat no one wanted to acknowledge. Duarte stared at her, waiting for a reaction, but her mind was already racing. If Vale believed she was a target, then whoever orchestrated his disappearance was already watching her moves. She left the building under the cover of a gray, rising dawn. The streets were waking up, but Laura felt as though she was moving through a different world, one where shadows whispered in every camera, every passing car. Felt like an eye. She got into her unmarked sedan and drove straight to the Federal Task Center. She needed access to Vale's encrypted files, and she needed it fast. Except the moment she walked through the doors, the atmosphere shifted. Conversations paused. Officers avoided eye contact. A supervisor stepped out of glass office and approached her with a forced smile. "Mendez, good. You're here. We need to talk." She followed him inside. Something in the room felt staged. Papers positioned too neatly. Monitors turned just slightly away. Her instincts sharpened. "We're reassigning you," the supervisor said, effective immediately. "Reassigning me? In the middle of an active disappearance investigation." "Exactly," he replied. "This case is compromised. Too much noise. Too much international pressure. You're off it." Lara's jaw tightened. "That's not protocol." "It is now." He handed her a sealed envelope, an official removal order, except the signature at the bottom wasn't from the regional director. It belonged to someone she didn't recognize. She placed the envelope back on the desk. "This isn't coming from upstairs." "Who sent this?" The supervisor's eyes flicked toward the hallway camera. "Laura, walk away. For your own good." Her pulse spiked. She didn't argue. She simply turned and left the office, heading straight for the exit. But as she passed the lobby, she noticed an unfamiliar pair of men in plain suits standing near the door. They weren't talking. They were watching her. She didn't break stride. She kept walking, kept breathing, but inside her mind the alarm bells were deafening. When she stepped outside, she didn't go to her car. Instead, she continued down the sidewalk, turned a corner, and slipped into a crowded coffee shop. Ducking into the bathroom, she pulled out her phone and removed the battery. No tracking. No digital trail. Then she dug out a burner phone she used for undercover work. One number came to mind. Luciano Arentz, retired investigator, and the last person to interrogate the inmate Vale had visited from the old Carindira days. He answered on the second ring. "Mendez? Why are you calling me on this line?" "I need help," she said. "And I need the truth." Luciano sighed. "Let me guess. You found the triangle." Her chest tightened. "What do you know about it?" "Not over the phone. Meet me in 40 minutes. He gave her an address on the outskirts of the city, an abandoned train warehouse long forgotten by authorities. She arrived early, hiding in the shadows behind a stack of rusty containers. The building loomed like a skeleton of steel and dust. Minutes later, Luciano limped into view, his old injuries slowing him down. But before she could step out, she noticed him stop abruptly. He looked around, then up, as if sensing someone watching. A faint metallic click echoed across the warehouse. "Luciano," Laura hissed, stepping forward. But before she reached him, headlights flared on from a black SUV at the far end of the lot. Luciano froze. The back door opened, and a man stepped out, face hidden, posture rigid, the kind of presence that radiated authority and danger. Luciano backed away. "Laura, run." The man lifted a small device, pointed directly at her. Not a gun, a scanner. Within seconds, her burner phone vibrated with a notification she didn't send. A message auto-downloaded from an encrypted channel. A single sentence flashed across the screen. "You were warned. The next link in the triangle activates now." Laura looked up. The SUV accelerated toward her, and behind it, Luciano shouted something she couldn't hear before the warehouse lights snapped off one by one, plunging everything into darkness. The darkness swallowed everything. Tires screeched against cracked pavement as the SUV lunged forward, its engine roaring like a predator closing in on its prey. Laura dug behind a rusted pillar just as the vehicle slammed into the containers she'd been standing beside seconds earlier. Metal shrieked. Dust exploded into the air. She crawled along the ground, lungs burning, searching for any sign of Luciano. When the debris settled, she found him slumped against a concrete barrier, dazed but alive. "Move," she whispered urgently. "We have to get out before they reset the lights." Together, they staggered into a side corridor of the warehouse as the SUV's engine reignited behind them. The building groaned with age, its labyrinth of forgotten maintenance tunnels stretching deep beneath the old rail lines. Laura pulled Luciano through a narrow passage until they reached a rusted grate. With both of them pushing, it snapped open, revealing a service hallway leading to a collapsed stairwell. There, finally out of immediate sight, Luciano leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. "You weren't supposed to see that symbol," he said, voice trembling. "Start talking," Laura demanded. "What is the triangle? Who wants me gone?" Luciano wiped blood from his forehead. It began after Carandiru collapsed. When the government shut it down, certain people, contractors, administrators, outside partners, lost millions. But instead of disappearing, they reorganized. Quietly, privately, they built an international pipeline connecting 3 prison systems, one in Brazil, one in Australia, and one in the U.S. "The Deadly Triangle," Laura murmured. Luciano nodded. Casuarina in Western Australia and Goulburn Supermax in New South Wales. Those were first 2 foreign nodes. But their third link, it's not a prison yet. It's a corporate asset disguised as a security contractor based in Chicago. They manage surveillance systems for dozens of federal buildings. Laura felt her stomach twist. Vale discovered the money trail. "And someone inside your agency helped bury him," Luciano added. "They're embedded everywhere, Laura. They control transfers, budgets, international contracts. Anyone who finds out becomes a threat." She took a step back. "So they took him through that maintenance shaft to silence him." "To move him," Luciano corrected. "He's not dead. Not unless they finish extracting everything he knew. They specialize in vanishing people. They move them between continents without leaving records. Why target me? Vale trusted you. That alone made you dangerous." A dull hum suddenly vibrated through the hallway. The warehouse lights flickered back on. Every corridor except the one they were hiding in. Someone had restored power. Someone who knew exactly where they were. Laura pulled Luciano to his feet. "We need to go. Now." They limped through the maintenance tunnel until it opened into a rail yard. A cold wind cut through the open space. In the distance, she spotted a forgotten service vehicle, old, dented, but still intact. She hot-wired it in under a minute, and they sped out onto the deserted access road. Only when they were several miles away did Luciano finally speak again. "There's one more thing you need to see. Vale sent me a file days before he vanished. He said it was his final safeguard." "What kind of file?" Luciano unlocked his tablet and passed it to her. On the screen was a map, 3 glowing points forming a perfect triangle across the globe. Brazil, Australia, the U.S., each point pulsed. Under the map, a single line of text read, "Phase 3 activates with the disappearance of the next target." Laura scrolled down. The next target wasn't a person. It was a location. A federal courthouse scheduled to open in Chicago in 48 hours. Equipped with brand new security systems installed by the same contractor tied to the triangle. Lara's heart pounded. They're going to use the building to disappear someone important. Someone whose absence will help them complete the network. Luciano nodded grimly. "And you're the only one who knows." Laura tightened her grip on the tablet. The horizon ahead glowed with the first hints of morning. "This doesn't end here," she said. "If they think I'm the next link, then I'm breaking the chain." She hit the gas pedal, the engine roaring as they sped toward the airport, and toward the one place where the triangle expected her least. The hunt was no longer for Rodrigo Vale. It was for the people who built the Deadly Triangle. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.